Hi there, Zamir from NoTube. These are my thoughts and spoilers of Section 31, starring Michelle Yeoh and a bunch of nobodies. So, I had my reservations regarding this movie after seeing the trailer, but I thought to myself, you know what, maybe the film will be alright. Watchable, passable even, maybe not necessarily that great, but if it does a job, then fine by me. Unfortunately, this movie doesn't even do a job. This film is a movie set in the Star Trek universe that has references to Star Trek and is not remotely Star Trek, and I have no problem with that to a degree. But if you're gonna go a totally left field route, sorry, then you still have to offer the goods of being good and entertaining, and this isn't that whatsoever. What we have is a hodgepodge mismatch of bullshit all squished and squashed together, copying various elements of stuff that we've seen before, but not pulling it off remotely good in any capacity whatsoever. And this thing is such a hot mess that not only are you disappointed and know that you're watching a crap film, me personally, I was very angry at how bad this was. Because, in my opinion, this film could possibly be a franchise killer. Now, something as big as Star Trek theoretically shouldn't be have a franchise killer. It's so big, it's so popular. How could that ever happen? But then you look at things like the Marvel universe, and you look at Star Wars as well. Like they're constantly turning out dross after dross after dross, and then people are not watching that shit anymore. The ratings for any new Star Wars show is quite low. I think that goes the same with a lot of the Marvel stuff as well. People are just not tuning in because they just have a bad feeling it's going to be crap. It's just not that entertaining like it once was. And unfortunately, that probably goes the same with Star Trek as well. Now, Alex Kurtzman, he's been in charge of Star Trek for a very, very long time. And initially, I don't think he started off too well, but I did think there was a decent recovery from Kurtzman, where I think he was listening to people's gripes with what Star Trek was under his guidance, and he course corrected and started giving us stuff that felt more like Star Trek instead of going in this different direction that he initially wanted to go. But unfortunately, with this movie, he's kind of gone backwards, and I think Alex Kurtzman's time is done. He had this ship for several years, almost a decade, but now it's time to pass that baton on to his successor, who could hopefully give us something that is way more Star Trek in feel and emotion and look and appeal than what Kurtzman's been kind of giving us from some of his time at the helm of this particular project. Because Section 31 is something that when you watch it, you don't know what the fuck you're watching. Is this a heist movie? Is this a revenge movie? Is this a sleuth movie? A whodunit? Because some of the elements are all in this film, but at the same time, why is this shit even happening to a degree? And this MacGuffin that gets thrown in there at one particular point just feels so cliched and been there, done it, worn a t-shirt, that it also just bemuses you at the same time. Like Section 31 itself, what is it in this movie? Like we all know what Section 31 is. We've seen it in various Trek before in the past, especially in stuff like DS9. But this entity of Section 31 is non-existent in this fucking film, because Michelle Yeoh, she's not the leader of Section 31. She's not a participant of Section 31. She gets kind of like roped into doing a job because apparently she's bored and shit like that, and that's the reason why she decides to do this particular job. But it's from this one particular character called Alok who ropes her in, and he himself is a bit of an enigma as well, because we get some backstory about him being from the eugenic wars and shit like that, but it's totally irrelevant, doesn't make sense, and he's the only real representation of Section 31. And then we got this motley crew of dickheads underneath me who are all part of this fucking Section 31 elite team, but they just seem so at times incompetent and stupid and arrogant and annoying, and just various other negative fucking connotations you can give to these motherfuckers. That how the fuck could they ever be part of something like Section 31? And they're all like very cliched, in like the bruiser and the fucking loudmouth and the fucking arrogant one and the broody one and all this sort of shit. It's like and once again, none of this necessarily feels like Star Trek, but it does have like elements in it that remind you that you're in the Star Trek universe, and I have no problem with that to a degree. I really don't. But if you're not doing things right, if you're not doing things well, then you're just going to make future efforts of expanding this Star Trek universe unlikely, because people might think to themselves, let's just go back to tried and trusted, just get back on the Enterprise, make another movie of the Enterprise, we'll get Kirk, Spock and Scotty and Bones and Uhura and all these other motherfuckers, we'll recast them and we'll just do that again. And I don't want that again. I want expansion. I want other things. I want to follow other places, follow other people, not just necessarily be with Starfleet. Do so many different things, but it's not going to fucking happen if we get shit like this that maybe turns off people in the higher ups to want to maybe expand, because this is such a fucking bad indication of expanding the universe. This is so fucking bad. And I've hardly got into the story or anything like that. Like, the characters themselves, very unlikable. I mean, even people who are not supposed to be likable, they can have elements in them that can make them intriguing. Not these motherfuckers. Not at all. They're so cliched and tropey. They just grate on you. The way they speak, the way they talk, the way they communicate with each other, the dialogue is bad. The writing is bad. Michelle Yeoh, a world-class actress who's done world-class movies, been in some of the greatest films we've ever seen, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's a fucking one of the greatest Bond girls as well. You see Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is an Oscar-winning movie. She is phenomenal. She's done so many good things, and that's just what I could just think of at the top of my head at this moment in time. This is Philippa Georgiou, a really cool character that was developed under the Kurtzman era. This Terran version of her that we saw in Discovery, and she's just totally wasted in this. Absolutely wasted. And when the story just plods along as it does, it's not really going anywhere, loads of exposition and stuff like that. It's just like, why are we here? Like, this is so bad. And whilst watching this, I was trying to force myself not to look at my watch. Because if you look at your watch, it's game fucking over. Because what you're watching is shit. If you're enjoying what you're watching, then you should never look at your watch. And you know what? I couldn't help myself. I did, because this is fucking bollocks. This is so terrible. I worry for where Star Trek's going to be going into the future after this. Because they might play it safe and not do anything interesting and different in the future, and that scares me, because I think variety is the spice of life, and I would like to see people try other things. But if it's going to end up being like this, then I'd rather they not. Oh god, I don't even know what I want from Star Trek anymore. This is so bad. This has disillusioned me. This really has. This is the worst Star Trek I've ever seen in my entire life. I know that's kind of cliched of me to say, and there's so much Star Trek out there when it comes to the television series and the movies. Out of all the movies that are being made, and there's some bad ones, obviously not everyone's a big fan of the motion picture. Generations is very hit and miss with a lot of people. Star Trek 5 obviously is not that great. Things like Insurrection is and all of that are not that popular, but all of those other movies I mentioned have moments in them that are quintessentially Star Trek, that are in legend, and you always remember those things forever, because they are that's Star Trek. There's nothing in this movie of Section 31 that will live in memory, that is legend, that will stick in our minds as saying, yeah, that's a good Star Trek moment. Nothing like that is there at all. This is forgettable trash. This is the worst Star Trek movie of them all, and that's including stuff like Into Darkness, which is a shit film as well. Regarding all of Star Trek combined, whether it be movies, series, animation, this is the worst of them as well. This truly is. I am so upset by this because, like I said, this is not the direction we need to be going. As you know, when it comes to the Star Trek property, and I worry where Star Trek's going to go after this. I really do. When I did the review of this movie with my colleagues, I gave it a 0 out of 10. I stand by that. This doesn't deserve a rating whatsoever. You know, I am a big fan of Star Trek. I love Star Trek, and I've watched a lot of shit stuff from other franchises as well, like Acolyte from Star Wars. You know, some of the series that have come out in the MCU as well. You know, stuff like Green Lantern, which was a shit movie for DC and stuff like that. Some real shit has come out. You know, even within the DCEU now, they've obviously changed to the DCU. There's some real shit stuff that has come out. But regarding those, they would still get a low rating of a 2 or a 3 or 4, something along those lines. This is the worst of the lot. This film, Star Trek Section 31, it's not even so bad it's good. It's just bad, terrible, awful. I hate it. I genuinely hate this. This is my lowest mark for a movie which is not a numerical mark, is that this is so bad it made me want to fucking kill myself. And when I say that, you know it's really fucking shit. I hate this film with a fucking passion, and I'll never watch this movie again. It's that bad. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest social media channel you never heard of. Take care, bye bye, and live long and prosper.